baby.
How's my hair look?
Fabulous.
Better than mine does. I look like I have a puppy ear sticking out of my headphone.
You don't look like you have a puppy
So,
ear.
okay, we're ready?
Oh, are we recording already?
Let's
I
go.
mean, we can do whatever
do
we
it.
want. We just talk about.
Okay, so, but are we recording? Is this happening?
I think we just like normally just talk.
Oh, okay. So this is something that I know you see it a lot, and I see it a ton. And I actually was listening to someone talk about it the other day, but the whole concept of, and it's probably the boomer generation.
That's a
And
fun word to say.
Boomer.
Boomer.
The boomer generation and kind of their like
Boomer.
the legacy they're leaving behind, and a lot. And maybe what's the generation before boomers?
Boomer.
You're not helpful. What's the generation before boomers?
I don't know.
No one. Okay, well,
No.
It's like
I got
the.
nothing.
It's like the.
so that generation.
I can't think of what was the thing called.
Ask Siri.
The greatest generation?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like
That's what they call
the.
them. World War II.
But so that, and then like the boomer generation, the legacy that they leave behind, a lot of times gets so wrapped up. For them, they think the legacy they're leaving is this material, their trinkets and their china and their this and then that, where the millennials and Gen Z, and I always forget what I am. I'm on like the oldest side of something. Millennials, maybe? Anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's millennials because I always argue that I'm not a millennial and my kid who knows everything is like, yes, you are.
We're technically,
yeah, I
we
think
barely
we're
make the
millennials,
millennial
yeah.
cut. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm like the last or like the first year of it, I think. But anyway, back to what it was. I see it a lot when I go into homes because we're going in and we're having to declutter and pack, and when people are moving out or downsizing or going to a nursing home or whatever. But their generation, their whole idea of like this legacy they want to leave behind is so wrapped up in their material items, which is like trinkets and china and, you know, furniture that was handmade and blah, blah. And we don't want it.
Right.
I don't, I mean, it's beautiful, or I might want like a little thing. Like my mom's mom had always collected these Fenton glass slippers, and they're so pretty and they're cute. And there was 23 or 24 grandkids, however many there are of us. And I think ultimately what ended up, everybody got a pair, if I remember correctly. So like that's how many she had of these little, and they're so pretty. And I love that I've got like my one
Yes,
little
your
set.
one, right. You
But,
don't
like,
need the whole set, though.
No, we
Like,
don't
ugh.
do collections. We don't do,
Yeah.
and some people still get into the china and a little bit, but like we don't need 4 sets of china, and we don't, so it's like this.
The silent generation.
Oh, is that what's before boomers is the silent generation?
The greatest, so the greatest generation is 1901 to 1924.
Oh, okay.
And then the silent generation is 1925 to 1945. And then it's the boomers.
Then it's the boomers. And then after the boomers, it's the...
Boomers is 46 to 64.
Okay. Then
Generation X
Oh, yeah.
is what's right before.
Millennials.
So I'm Generation X.
You're Generation X.
65 to 80 is Generation X.
Right. And like my brother and my sister are technically Generation X. And then
The millennials are 81 to 96.
So we
I'm
have 2
millennial.
generations represented here.
Right.
Isn't that nice?
Isn't that
I'm the
cute?
old one.
We're barely, I'm barely. You're what, a year behind me?
I'm 83.
Yeah, I'm 82. So like we're barely millennials, but we don't want it. And so it's kind of nice when you look at like the grandparents thing, if they send it to like grandkids, or like when they've got like the big Christmas villages and stuff like.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody wants the big collections. Nobody wants the big china cabinet anymore. So now these people are like, well, my kids are going to come and take all these things when I go into the nursing home, and nobody wants it. And they're like, well, we'll
Yeah.
have estate sales and we'll sell it and make money.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that way.
If
No.
you don't want it, who the fuck? Like, no one
No.
wants it.
No.
And
And
it's sad because people have this idea that they have collected this value over
Mhm.
time.
And they've spent the money on
Oh,
it.
it's
you
like,
know.
yes, like
And then-
trying to tell people like your China, nobody wants
Nobody
it.
wants it. And it's sad because then they come to
Well,
that
sell it.
realization.
It's
they're
like, okay, here's $1.
Yeah.
And then they get
They get $1.
well, what I'm saying emotionally though, they get like
Oh.
I mean, if
It's
they
very
realize-
emotional. It's
Yes.
very, and so that's where I'm kind of
It's
going with
hard.
this is the client that I was working with, that she's moving to a nursing home and her kids were coming in, like the kids were all really involved, which is great because a lot of times I see where kids are like checked out of the process
Mhm.
and that because they're annoyed with mom and dad or whatever. But the kids and their parents were like, well, because I know my daughters are going to want this china and my daughter-in-law's going to want
Yeah.
this, and then someone's going to want this collection. The kids are all sitting there like, we don't fucking want her shit.
right.
And she doesn't want to sell it because she's like, I could never let it leave the family. Like,
You
because
realize it's going to
so
leave the family as soon as you leave the family, right? Like
right.
that's
They don't though, and they're so
And
heartbroken.
that's the thing is you just wait. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
literally, that's the
sucks.
thing. You
You
just wait for the time, and
So
then
that was
and then
my
you
thing.
do
I have
it,
2
like,
sets of china now. Thanks, Mom.
But that's the thing is you
Because I have 2 kids. She's like, here, take this other set too. I'm like, why? She's like, because both kids. I'm just like, oh my God.
So what do you do in that situation, Kate? Or organizer extraordinaire? Like, what do you
It's the
tell her?
only box in my attic. That's what I do.
It's one box in your
It
She
is
doesn't
attic.
put
the
stuff in her
only
attic.
box in my attic.
That's
so
what I
weird.
aspire to is to only have one box in my attic.
I mean, there may
That's
be
pretty
like
impressive,
another,
actually.
there may be like a Christmas tree or
I've got
something up
such
there.
a dirty joke
but
for that right now, but I'll leave it alone. Go ahead.
That's really weird.
That's really weird. Yeah. What do you have in your attic?
How many boxes
I
do you
mean,
have?
Uh,
But
yeah, it's up there for my son because luckily Grady is very emotionally tied to things as well.
Is that luck?
So
That luckily? I don't know if that's luckily.
I'm just saying that he'll be once he moves and gets himself a wife, as he likes to say.
gets
that was
himself a wife.
That was when he was younger. He doesn't say that anymore. But once he moves, then he'll be able to take that with him. And then he can argue with her about whether or not they keep it. And
Yeah.
he doesn't have to argue with me about it.
You know, my parents are, they have a huge art collection. Like every wall in their house is like a gallery wall. Like they have a lot. And they have a lot of nice stuff. But literally at least half of it is something that I would never want in my house. A lot of it is really nice. But there's like a cowboy theme that they've gone through. There's a modern era that they've gone through, almost like a Jackson Pollock type stuff. I don't like any of that stuff. And so I don't know what's going to happen when we
Is
have
your
to clean
sister
out
into
that.
it?
No.
Well, at least with art, you can probably
Art,
resell
you
it.
can maybe sometimes.
Yeah. So we're going to have to like reach out to some
Like an
art dealer,
or
gallery type
something.
person,
Yeah.
give it all over to them, pay them 30, 40% or whatever they're going to
at
charge
least
us.
40%.
Like, it's just like they don't have China, but they have all of this art that
My
we
dad
are going
has
to
an
have
in-
to deal with. And they even have art to where, like, in their extra closets, there are pieces of art that are stacked up that they don't even have hung because they have decided. And your art tastes change over time, just like your
Right.
fashion sense.
Clothes, yeah.
It's the same thing. So the stuff that they liked back in probably the early 2000s was when they kind of started having a lot of art because they bought a house and wanted to, fill that up, and they had the extra money at that point because we were out of college. But
Kids
the
were
stuff that they
done
liked
sucking
back
life
in the
out of
early
them.
2000s is not what they like now. And
Yeah.
so they just have stuff stacked up in their
Well,
closets.
would they
and
ever
stuff.
start selling it? Like, why wouldn't they try to? If they're over it, if they're
It's-
done with it.
It's probably something I need to start like talking to him about and
Right.
see like, okay, we need to sort of have a discussion. Oh, and the other thing that they have that is sort of a collection is my dad has a rifle collection and like antique rifles from like, 1850s and things like that. And he has this little, it's like a closet / room that he's hung them on the walls
Mhm.
and he's very proud of them. Last time we went for Christmas, my son was really into it. We spent like 2 hours in there talking about guns. I mean, not anything that I'm going to ever want.
Right.
My sister's definitely not going to want it
Right.
because at least my husband and son hunt. Her little family doesn't do any of that. So
There's use
it's,
for it.
yeah. So what are we going to do with all
But
that
and that's the thing
stuff?
is like it's two things. Like, can you start walking your parents into, hey, this is great, and I would love to keep, hey, so like my brother and my dad have tons of guns from them, and then my grandpa and stuff. I would take. There's like a certain gun like that I knew that I learned how to shoot on
Right.
some of my kids. I
It
would
has-
take that.
it has some
That's got time
sentimental
for it. Like I
value.
would
Yeah.
keep that, whatever. Or like I got my like something that I wanted after my grandpa passed was like his fishing hat. Like it's just his hat that he always like. I just wanted this, whatever. But like, how do you start talking your grandparents or parents through the hey, like I want one of things. Like,
So what I've done, I'll come with the organizer
yes,
hat
please
here.
do.
but or
Oh.
can I finish my thought?
Okay.
Yeah, like talking them through that, or do you? I don't know who said it. Just take the shit and hold on to it till they die.
Yeah. Well,
And so
I mean,
they don't have to feel that pain of like everything I thought I was building, my kids don't want.
right.
Because that's
Right.
when it really creates a lot of conflict in the family.
What do you think?
Go ahead.
What's your
Go ahead.
input?
Miss Kate.
No, I was just gonna
Would you like
say.
the talking stick? Actually, no, you can't.
I was gonna say that I've had that talk with my parents already. We've had the discussion about I'm an only,
Mhm.
so everything they have will be on me, and we've had that chat, and I basically told him, like, as soon as you go, everything is going in the garbage. So,
Merry friggin' Christmas.
no, I didn't say all of it, but I'm just like, you realize, like, there's very little of this that is sentimental to me. And I think my mom understands that.
Yeah.
So what she's started doing is she goes through and on like the bigger furniture pieces and stuff, she started writing little cards and sticking them underneath it, like why this is important.
Yeah.
Like trying to
But a piece of
justify,
it
like,
justify her
Yeah.
keeping
So
it.
she'll have like a piece
That's
of furniture
funny.
and she'll be like, this was your great grandmother's.
Yeah.
Just remember that when you throw it away. I think it's
Good luck
hilarious.
sleeping tonight.
is it like
with that guilt?
No,
I think it's clever.
my mom's very funny, and she is a declutterer too, and she's already started going through things, and she'll call me and say like, hey, do you want any of this stuff? I'm getting rid of all this stuff. Do you want any of it?
Nope.
No.
And that is
or
a good
oh,
thing,
that's
yeah.
cute.
So if
I'll
you can
keep
get
that.
your parents to that point, that's
Yeah.
great. A lot of people, and I think most people, can't get their parents there.
Yeah.
So do you want to have the fight with them when they're going through the nursing home or in their final chapter?
I don't think it's worth it.
I don't
really
either. I don't think it's worth the family conflict
I don't either.
in their final chapter to
Nope.
be like, I don't want your bean bottle collection.
Yeah.
Just fucking hold
What's
on
a
to
bean
it.
bottle?
I don't know. I just made it up, I think.
Are you famboozled?
I'm bamboozled.
She's not she's fucking famboozled over the bean bottles. But like,
Here's the question I
but
have.
you
though,
have to
too.
be tender with their little old hearts,
Yeah,
though.
I
It
don't-
kills
there's
me
no
when I
point.
see the kids. I see the kids, you know, like in the situation, they're like, I'm done. I'm not fucking talking to mom and dad about this. We're throwing it away, mom. It's stupid. And like the mom is like falling apart. Like it's breaking
not
her
worth
little.
it.
No, it's
It's not worth
mean and
doing
it's
that.
cruel.
The question I have though too is even the stuff that does have some sentimental value. Like I have a Christmas stocking that my mom like crocheted for me when I was very little,
Mhm.
and we used it for a few years, and then I got
You get your
a new
matchy
one. But
mans.
like, I'm sorry.
You get your matchy ones.
Yes, I got my matching ones, but I still have like my little crocheted one from when I was a kid. But what do I do with it?
Does
Like,
it mean something to you?
I mean, kind of. She crocheted it. She took the time to do it, but
Yeah,
I never.
like
I
would
never
you frame it, like
was gonna
shadow box
frame-
it or something?
frame
Use it
it.
as art instead of
at Christmas?
At
maybe.
Christmas.
yeah. Just
I
pull it out at
guess.
Like think
Christmas.
about
Yeah.
like frame it up and then like into your bookshelves, like layer it into your bookshelves with some like little garlanded
Yeah.
stuff.
If it means something to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then I mean, this is a stupid little aside, but I had this fall pillow that who knows, it was out on a bench and one of my puppies took it and chewed a piece off of it. And so I had it sitting on the counter ready to repair it. And I'm like,
I don't love
sitting there,
this.
sitting there. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even like this pillow. Why am I going to spend the time to try to glue this thing back on that he
Right.
chewed off when
Yeah.
I don't even
Was it a
I don't
button?
like it. Yeah.
Did he have a
wasn't
button?
a button.
Okay.
But it's the same kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's good to just sit with it and be like, okay, I know my mom made this, or I know that this came from this, and I know that it brings back this memory. But like, if I didn't have it anymore, would I even really remember? Like, does it really matter?
Right.
And
Yeah.
most things, I mean, everybody has a varying degree of sentimentality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
everybody feels differently. For me, I can see pictures of things and that's totally fine. I don't need to have like the actual
thing.
object.
Mhm.
The piece, yeah.
But a lot of people they need that actual object to feel the connection.
Mhm.
I'm not that person. So I'm very anti
Because you just throw everything away.
I am very cold when it comes to that stuff.
I'm more like that too, though.
I
Yeah.
just don't.
I don't like that stuff being around. I don't like the stuff being around at all.
But I think a lot of times we just get into these routines and we just get in these patterns where it's like, well, this is my fall pillow and this pillow comes out and it means that it's fall. And I'm going to put this pillow out and it means
It's
that
not
it's
even
fall.
a sentimental
No,
feeling. It's just like
it's just a dumb little like Target pillow, but I don't love it. It doesn't really match anything.
It doesn't bring you joy.
It doesn't bring me joy. And
you know
I
she
just-
doesn't do that anymore now that she has kids.
And I don't, I just keep putting it out because it says hello fall on it. And I'm like, oh, it's fall. It's a fall pillow. Well, my puppy fucking chewed the hello fall thing off and he's walking around with it hanging out of his mouth. And I'm like, damn it. And I was going to take the
throw it
time to
away.
repair this pillow.
Yeah.
And finally I'm like, oh, I got to go find the whatever. And I looked at it and I was like, why? I don't like the pillow. it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't go with anything. In fact, it's probably harder to like find somewhere to put it. So I just was like, buy pillow, and I threw it away. But I think it's the
And that brought you joy.
and it did. And every time I opened the trash can, I was like, buy pillow.
I love throwing shit away.
But I think that's just in general, it's a very pulled back version. But as you go through these things, it's like, think about, do you really want it? Like,
Yeah.
if you love this stocking, if it's like, it brings you like memories of all your Christmases growing up and all these things growing up, and it brings that like nostalgia feeling, and you want to incorporate that feeling into your holiday,
Mm-hmm.
then make it a featured piece, find a way to frame it up, do something like that. But if it doesn't,
Yeah.
don't go to the trouble.
If
Yeah.
it's not sentimental but guilt,
Yes.
that's getting you
Right,
to keep
right,
it.
right.
Are you keeping it because you
Right.
feel guilty getting rid of it?
Yeah.
I think that's the other feeling. Like, it's still a feeling.
Yeah.
So you're
Right.
like, oh, I have to keep it. Well, that's not a feeling of like sentiment and happiness. That is a feeling of guilt.
Yeah.
I
You
think
let
a
it go.
lot of people hire people like me to
Mhm.
come
Yeah.
in to give them
yes.
permission to
Yep.
throw shit away.
Yep.
It-
100%.
They hire
Why
you to
they
take
do.
the emotion out of it, which
Yeah.
is 100%
Because
true.
then they can be
Yeah.
like, oh, my organizer threw it away.
That's why people shouldn't sell their own houses.
Okay.
Or
Exactly.
stage their own houses.
Yeah, because you can't.
You can't. You
literally
cannot
can't do
it.
it. Like, it's not a good thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I
No,
will. When I sell my houses, I don't stage my own houses. I can't make staging decisions about my own space.
See, I still struggle with that aspect of it. I mean, I wouldn't stage my own house either because
Well, you're
Lord
not a
knows
stager.
I can't, and I buy stupid Hello Fall pillows from Target, and they don't match anything, and I don't love them, but they're there. Anyway, what I don't understand is people's. Every time I've had my house staged, I've loved it, and I've been like, I should have done this forever ago. It looks
Yeah.
so good,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't understand people's. Like, I don't understand how people can get upset about it because to me,
They don't want to sell the house.
I think it's fabulous.
When people are upset about the staging process, it's because they don't actually want to sell their house. 99.9% of the time, it's because
Or is it
we
a
have
control issue? Like, is that part of it too?
That's
maybe-
what I was gonna say. I think there's other reasons. I think you're right. Most of the time, it's a sell the house issue.
maybe
but
it's
I
not
also,
99% of the time.
I also think it's a weird process.
It's
You've
a
got someone
very
in your
intrusive
house
process.
picking up all your stuff and moving
think
all your
it's
stuff
great.
around.
Y'all,
I know.
the
But
other day-
think about how you think about objects, though.
I try to
You-
make her come to my house and pick up my things so that she will move them and it will look better.
But you have that idea about you
I
have that
guess that's
non-emotional attachment to things, and when you have
the
somebody who,
impermanence of things.
Yeah,
It's just
it doesn't
not
bother
a-
you.
Mm-mm.
but a lot of people
They get
and,
really
and
bothered.
the other people who I find get almost like offended by the staging process are people that think they're decorators.
Yes, that
Oh, I
they get
don't.
offended
Because the
by
way
a
you
decorator.
decorate a house is not the way you stage a house. And people that think that their house is like beautifully decorated, I will always reinforce like, you're a great decorator. This all looks fabulous. This just isn't the way that we sell a house. And I've had numerous clients like that over the years that they are good decorators and they have a good sense of it. But typically decorators have layers and layers and layers of stuff.
And most of the time when staging's happening in a house that is well decorated, if it's well appointed, we're pulling off a few layers.
Typically.
But like when people don't like the staging process, it's a control thing. They get offended because they think I'm
It's
saying
an
what they-
offense.
They
Mhm.
think,
Control offense.
y'all, but
It's-
sometimes because you said it's super intrusive, like
Yeah.
it's crazy intrusive.
it is.
I see everything. Can I tell you that?
And I don't think there's a way to describe the intrusive until
I can
it
right now.
actually is.
I can tell you right now.
Okay.
I saw the biggest vibrator I've ever seen in my entire life the other day. It was like giant.
If I didn't have these headphones on, I'd be like this with my fingers in my ears. I
But
cannot.
Nipples.
I cannot.
I bet you there were nipple tassels in this house. Y'all, it was like legit. I'm not even kidding. But so to staging it, like we see everything because like
Where was it?
in her nightstand, and I was like tucking things in her nightstand, and I opened it, it was like, whoo!
At least it was put away in our nightstand.
It was. It wasn't like laying out like I've seen some of them.
At least
But-
It literally makes me want to crawl under this table.
Why?
I just hate that stuff. I hate
Vibrators or orgasms?
Definitely not orgasms. Talking about it though. And,
Why?
why do we have to talk about this stuff?
Because
this
it's natural.
is what draws the people in. This is what
Well,
the people
hold on.
like, Heather.
You've got to be comfortable talking about sex.
Would
and
you
sexuality.
rather talk about this or
Cocaine?
cocaine?
Vibrators or cocaine?
Cocaine, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
But I give that example to show like especially in the occupied space.
It's very intrusive.
It's incredibly intrusive, and people get embarrassed.
And I don't think that people think about you opening their nightstand.
And I tell them, because I'm like, I'm going to like tuck it in drawers. And
maybe I should get more offended. I like it when you look at stuff and you move stuff around in my house. Maybe I should get more offended. Should be like, why are you doing that?
Why?
I don't know. You're saying everybody
No, it's not. Most people have your reaction of like, I hear multiple times a week, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this when I moved in? I should have called. And that's kind of another phase of what we do. We'll do move-in services because they see what I've done and they're like, can you please come set my house up like this? I want to live at this standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it sets the tone for them. They're like, I should have done it when I moved in. I've had people straight up decide not to sell their house because of the staging process. They're like, I didn't realize I could love my house.
Yeah.
So
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
you don't necessarily
get it.
Which is when I don't pay her.
I think it's fantastic.
It wasn't with your clients.
She gets docked her pay.
That's fair.
Do not make this good enough that they want to stay.
Do not do that.
But it's happened twice. I've had 2 sellers decide not to sell. But people don't set the tone right for their home when they move in because they get so caught up in life and they don't realize how much they can love their home. You don't need to go hire a really, really expensive interior designer to redo everything. You just need to have someone come in and set the ship that you're on to
do you
make
know
you
what
love
would
it.
be great?
What? If I would actually come and do your top cabinets?
No. Well, yes, that would be great. But no, I was going to say, do you know what would be great and what would make people feel even better?
Okay.
If they hired a company to unpack them.
Bam.
Set up their
like how you
house,
just slid that right in there.
organize everything so that they know where everything is, and then they brought in a stager to set it all up so that it looked beautiful.
Or if you knew 2 companies that actually do this in conjunction with each other and come in for one day.
Wow. Look at that.
Amazing.
Wouldn't that be something special?
Amazing.
That would be like as amazing as cocaine and vibrators.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Okay,
Never done cocaine again.
But vibrators.
That I cannot say I've never done.
I'm not kidding you. It was this.
I need
Sorry,
earplugs.
Heather's poor ears can't handle this.
It was this big.
This big. How big was it? This big.
It was huge.
The one that got away.
It was like startling. Anyway.
Well,
Are we
on
wrapping
that
this
note,
up?
I feel
Thank
like
you. Please, I need a rescue. I need like that vaudeville like hook. Get me off the stage. Yeah.
Getting her off the stage or me?
Yes.
Probably more you. Let's be honest.
Anywho.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
And check.
We're going to need to figure out what to call that episode. So
big vibrator.
Big. Oh. Call it the BBC. Should we call it the BBC?
Today.